The human body is amazing on its capacity to heal itself when it's in balance. You don't need anything synthetic. The body's electric and takes care of itself. Viruses are our poisons, are our body's response to poisons. Yeah, viruses are a good thing. I found that what's real interesting is like, we've never actually seen viruses, and what they say they see during viruses, when they see viruses in the early 1900s, they just assume like this is this is what's causing all of this disease. And then like in the 90s, I think they discovered the exosome, which looks identical to it and has the exact same properties, and it also has genetic sequences. So that's what they were. They are the exact same thing, exosomes, which are actually a good thing that your body sends out to act as a solvent. And so they just acted like they were two different things. Are you following? Like, they found exosomes in the 1900s, but they just said, oh, these must be the cause of disease. Then they found exosomes and properly identified them in the 90s, and then they said that they still just stuck with the virus narrative. You know that a virus it's never been shown to be what they say it is. Like, it's never been scientifically demonstrated the causation between illness and a virus. Like, ever. Like, literally ever. That's not weird to you? Again, in the early 1900s, they looked through an electromagnetic microscope, which is a whole different subject of how that even works, right? And then what they saw that they didn't already have previously identified, they said, oh, this must be the cause of all the illnesses. This is really what happened. And they're like, oh, there it is. We figured it out. This is why I was getting sick. Then like in the 90s, the early 90s, they found exosomes, and they properly identified them as acting as solvents to toxicity out by your body, specific to the toxicity. And then they just still stuck with the pseudoscience virus thing. This is like too much for people to take in. It's like they would rather the virus be real than to accept that maybe that the whole medical sector's wrong about something. They'd rather get mad at me. Historical pandemics coincide with an advance in technology. Yeah, but I'm starting to question like any of these pandemics, right? Like, whatever. I don't just believe something that they say. Like the Spanish flu, like a bunch of people were dying because aspirin was just sold, and sold over the counter. No one really knew anything about it, and they were taking way too much of it, and it was suppressing their fever. And fever is your body emitting heat to actually help it stay alive. Cancer is actually your body keeping itself alive. That's what cancer is. Cancer is actually your body keeping itself alive. And it tries to bottle up all this toxicity, and eventually it can't anymore. So the faster you make a lifestyle change that is causing that toxicity, the faster that you'll overcome it. And they tell you, okay, we'll pump your entire body with radiation, kill off all your healthy cells. I hope you make it back. If you don't, you can come back and try again if you do survive, but it doesn't work. And we'll do it up to 3, 4, 5 times. And it's actually a good thing. Like the cancer itself, obviously the symptoms, the side effects are not good, but like it's happening because it's saving your body. It's because it has very dangerous levels of toxicity. It bottles it up in the form of a tumor or etc. And it's trying to save you. And then eventually, if you do not make the changes, it can't save you. It can't help you anymore. Like, it's that simple. The same thing with fever. When you get a fever, your body's emitting heat to help you stay alive. Viruses are already inside of you. They're not alive. They're genetic sequences that are sent out to your body specific to the toxicity. You have over 380 trillion in your body. There's no such thing as a live virus from outside of you. It's just so stupid. And that's an objective fact, dude. Like there's literally no scientific evidence to create the causation correlation. Literally none. So, it's pseudoscience by definition. So yeah, I just find that real interesting. Like the way that we look at cancer is we like demonize cancer. But cancer seems to be like kind of an OG, like it's low-key a legend, because that means your body was getting to a point where the toxicity was so high, it's like, oh, we gotta take care of this. Explain, please. I just did. Like, cancer is taking care of the toxicity, right? So if you have a whole lot of toxicity, cancer is your body trying to get that under wraps, like trying to keep it all in one single location, trying to not let it get out everywhere. But eventually, if you do not make the adequate change necessary with the warning signal that is cancer that your body's giving you, then it'll eventually get to where it can't suppress you anymore. Every virus is correlated to the specific toxicity your body encounters in its environment. Everything has a specific frequency, so when it gets out of whack, your body fights back. Yeah, exactly. Your body's like a crazy, well-engineered electrical machine that is constantly just basically, operating within this said frequency spectrum, if you want to say it like that, and it's just constantly fluctuating back and forth in like this like well-oiled machine, and then all you're doing is you're holding back its like properties, or its properties of healing, its properties of protection, its properties of maintaining of homeostasis. Basically, like, you are the problem. Your intake is the problem, right? Like, your body isn't the problem, but it's you and your lifestyle that is the problem, right? Like, if you never exercise because it's easier to not exercise, well, okay, you know, maybe that's why you're getting sick. Maybe that's why you're going to have future health side effects. If you never drink enough distilled water, well, okay, you're lacking hydration. Maybe that's why you're going to get sick. If you just eat a whole bunch of GMOs, disgusting food, which I still eat GMOs, but like, I try not to eat just like the most disgusting food ever, right? Like, try to eat organic fruits and vegetables, but I drink a lot of water and exercise and get sun, and I'm fine. So it's like, and I don't get any synthetic medicine at all, ever. None. No vaccines, no synthetic medicine at all. When I if my head ever hurts, I don't go like take an aspirin. Like, that doesn't even work. I just like drink water. Everyone they'd rather take the easy way out for taking some pill or some shot, something synthetic that they say is going to fix it immediately, than going and making the adequate changes to your lifestyle, because that requires more diligence and responsibility and dedication, and people just don't want to do that. It requires discipline. It's really that simple.
Talk about that. Okay, I was reviewing a scientific article about this virus that seems to be somewhat unique compared to other viruses. And I will point out that, I'm not 100% sure of the pathogenesis of any virus. In fact, I am very much open to alternative ways of seeing how our body protects itself. And there is the pleomorphism theory, which kind of goes straight in the face of the currently accepted germ theory, which Louis Pasteur was the proponent of the germ theory. The germ theory is, quite a nice theory if you're a pharmaceutical company, because if you can come up with a germ and you can provide a drug to kill said germ, then you're going to make a lot of money. But even with that said, many of these antibiotics, especially the antibiotics more so than the antiviral medications, those aren't really working that well, mostly because they come with so many side effects. I mean, people, they develop psychosis, they develop a lot of GI issues. It's just, these drugs are not the healthiest drugs to fight something that, in reality, if you turn to nature, you can fight it quite easily, okay? So that's the germ theory. Pleomorphism is a theory that is related to Béchamp, and I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly, but, it comes down to the culturing medium, that our body, based on the health of its interstitial spaces. And what are those interstitial spaces? We'll see this image right here. We see cells, those cute little purple cells, and we see blood vessels, and we see lymphatic vessels. And my mentor, Dr. Robert Morse, commonly says that our body is just basically a bunch of cells with two major fluids. And these are the two major fluids, blood and lymph. And it's the health of these interstitial spaces that really determines how your body is working and how free it is to do what it is that you want to do. So I'm a big proponent of health. I think that if you have health, you have everything. Unfortunately, we live in a society where there are many psychopaths trying to control us. And these psychopaths, they are shutting down people's freedoms by locking down our economy due to the germ theory, where we're all afraid of a little virus. And I honestly, again, I'm not questioning the validity that, people are getting sick. I don't think we have all of the answers, nor do I think that they're being 100% upfront with us about what's really going on. But, these illnesses, I think they come on yearly because, in the wintertime, it's not uncommon for people to get sick because it's cold and we see more of a lockdown in our interstitial spaces. What do I mean by that? Well, when it's cold, we tend to stay inside more, and we're not moving our body as much, and we're not getting as much sun. The sun is vitally important. So those countries that are making it unlawful for people to go out in the sun, they're actually physically harming their citizens because we need the sun. I'll show you a picture here. The sun, when it hits our skin, it elicits the first step, or I should say it triggers the first step in a 3-step reaction that leads to the production of vitamin D. And vitamin D is so incredibly important. When I teach about the importance of vitamin D to my students at the college I teach at, I primarily focus on its role in calcium absorption. However, vitamin D is needed for a lot of immune activities. There's a correlation between various diseases, and I say diseases in quotes because I don't really work with diseases as a naturopath. As someone who teaches in the allopathic field, I can use diseases in their terminology because certain diseases that allopathy has, come up with, which is basically a collective of symptoms that they decide, this collective of symptoms will be named this disease. So certain of those diseases are more prevalent in people that have vitamin D deficiencies. And I would say that they're more prevalent in people that are not getting outside and doing what humans should be doing, enjoying nature. So we need vitamin D. We need really all of our vitamins and minerals. They play just an enormous role in human health, and a lot of it comes from nature, okay? I'm not a big fan of supplementation, using isolates. I think we can get what we need from plants, from clean water, and from, strong, loving relationships and proper sleep. The foundations of what is called natural hygiene, which is the proper way to live so that you don't have to suffer. And if you don't know what natural hygiene is, look into it. There's a lot of resources out there, but that's really what I first stepped into when I was in allopathic medical school years and years ago, and I decided that I didn't want anything to do with that system. So with that said, it comes down to what we're looking at here in this image. So we are made up of, every single organ in our body is made up of cells and 2 major fluids, okay? And if these interstitial spaces, which are the spaces between the cells, if they become congested, if they trap waste products, if we're not letting the flow of the fluids continue with in a way in which we can release those waste products, then we're going to attract things that will try to get rid of the waste products for us. And that's where the pathogens really come in. And I don't even like to call them pathogens. I define a pathogen in my human anatomy and physiology course as a disease-causing agent. But in reality, I think these little subcellular structures, or maybe they're microcellular structures, whatever they are, I think they're there to help us. I think everything is there to help us. And what we've been lied about, and this is the big lie, is we have been told that we need to fear nature. We have been told that everything is out there to get us. And if you just take a shift in your perception and you realize that everything is there to help us, and we look at this pleomorphic theory of health, these little critters that show up in our body, they're not there because they're trying to do mean things to us. They're there to help us. And they're there to break down those wastes that are building up in these interstitial spaces. Okay, so what we need to have happen